Good Tuesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to Real Talk. This an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness, powered by the Yes Team Realtors. Folks, we are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network. Real Talk airs Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15, thanks to Keith and Yona Smith. And I'll tell you what, it's undoubtedly one of my favorite shows on this network because Judah Wickhauer, our director, of this guy. And let's go to the studio camera and welcome the distinguished gentleman who happened to have gotten more distinguished since the last time he was here on Friday because of this new mask.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I don't know how it shows up on camera, but
Let me see.
Does it show up decent?
I'll show you in a second. If you're not watching, Debbie Brewer says good morning, guys. If you're not watching Keith and Judah, go in on a close shot of Keith. He's got a mustache there.
I got a mustache. I needed the mustache. I've had it since 1985, so gotta show off my stash.
When was the mustache jet black last, Keith Smith?
When it was jet black?
Yeah, because it's jet black right now.
It never was.
It was never jet black, no?
It was either blonde or gray.
Okay.
Either one of the two.
Keith Smith. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to it. This is National Homeowners Month. Started under President Clinton. And it's a pretty neat thing. It doesn't get talked about that much, and so this being a real estate show, we're gonna kind of focus that a little bit. And as we said before we went live, one of the things I love about doing this, we've got a year and a half now, is the folks that chime in on the feed always takes the show to a different direction, and I never get to all my notes that I made this morning. But we're gonna start with the number one thing that one should do when they're out shopping for a house is, how much can I afford, right? So we brought in a rock star of a loan officer, so I'll let you introduce him, and then I've got a bunch of questions, and we'll see where the feed goes.
We'll go to Scott Morris soon. Debbie Brewer finds the conversation hilarious. The Glenmore moms watching right now, around the loop in Glenmore, literally. Yeah, that is literally happening.
We talked about that on Friday.
I just got the notification.
That just rocked my world all weekend long.
Well, imagine you're my wife. You go into a random group of people that you've never met before, walking around the loop in a brand new neighborhood, and the audio that's playing with the moms and the kids is you and me. What is she thinking? She's like, what's going on here?
I think it's about me, really.
It's always about you, Keith.
No.
Is this what Yona said? It's not always about you, Keith.
No. I'm just kidding around. It's always about you, Jerry.
We'll go to no. Give us a tease while I get Scott Morris online. Why do you like Scott Morris?
But to stay on that subject, I was so. Yona was asking me, what's wrong?
They are doing that right now.
There you go.
It's amazing.
Yona asked me, she said, what's going on? I was a little bit subdued, wrong word. I was a little bit, not my normal jovial self all weekend long. And she goes, what's wrong with you? And I said, I just found out that these ladies listen. I'm just honored and then humbled. And then I have to say, okay, I got to keep my game.
Yeah, you got it. That's what you really should be thinking. And then minding your P's and Q's.
And then I went, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
they
ladies.
Have little children with them. They're with little children. Damn. Oh, Smith, I like you. All right, Judah Wickhauer, let's get another Marine on the line. Guys, Keith Smith, a Marine. Okay, next time you see Keith Smith around town, say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll go to another gentleman who needs thanks for his service, and Scott Morris. Judah, it is ringing now. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. This is Scott Morris's second rodeo or third rodeo on the show?
Really second. The first one
was a
little dicey. We had some technical difficulties.
All right, Scott Morris is online. Judah, do I have your thumbs up to welcome him to the show? I do. Scott Morris, you looking sharp, dude.
Morning.
How you living? We can hear you. We can see you. You look fantastic. All right, why don't we do this? Introduce yourself to the viewing public. Scott Morris. Wow.
Couple away. 25
Love it.
years.
Smith, you love this guy.
Of course I do. Look how handsome he is.
He is pretty sharp. Making the show look better right now, Scott Morris.
It's a Marine thing.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
You like that,
I
huh?
need to get a
You see his mustache?
That's the kicker.
There's a story behind that. We'll
Yeah,
save that
yeah,
for
yeah.
some other. Not this one, but the real mustache, some other show. So how you doing, my friend? You know, I say this all the time. If I was doing any better, it's illegal. Life is treating me excellent. So
That's awesome.
this month is about a homeownership month, right? It started under President Clinton, and then George, I believe it was W. Bush, turned it into a permanent monthly event. So, you know, I couldn't think of a better way to start, you know, on the home ownership thing. You and I talk about this all the time, and we have conversations with our clients. You know, the first thing you should figure out is, you know, how much can you afford, right? So we'd like to talk a little bit about the pre-approval process. If you can go to slide 2, Judah, I'd appreciate that. So I'm going to let Judah pop up a slide, and all it basically says is you got to start with your pre-approval. But do me a favor, short, you know, 1 minute, 2 minute synopsis. Tell us how that process starts. I'm a client. I'm calling you to start that process.
So that process is going to start. You'll reach out. I'm going to have what your goals are, maybe what you're paying in rent now, or what your current mortgage is, what that situation looks like as far as transitioning from where you currently are into a new home, and what your timeline looks like. So we're going to get an idea of, one, what you think is affordable for you, not just what I can hand you out in a pre-approval for. Along with that, you know, typically what you see, you know, you'll see recommendations from anywhere. As far you see, if you make 50,000. $1,000 20, that could be something that really fits what works for you as far as making that work. So I think the true number is 2 to depending on what your comfort level is and what it really takes to make things work for you and your family.
So I use this term as what your per month worth of house you can afford. In other words, how much per month can you afford, right? You know, and
Absolutely.
we have this conversation, particularly with first-time home buyers all the time. Somebody will say, hey, oh, geez, you can afford this, but really this is where my per month I want to be at. And that's where we need to, excuse me, bring the house down. Pardon me. It's the mustache hair got stuck in my throat. So we're going to talk about mortgage options in a minute, because I think that's super important. Things have been changing, and I think we need to get some of that information out. But again, so what's people, this is a pretty simple process from a pre-approval process. Can you talk about that? I think you have an app or something along those lines. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Goal. I'm going to go. The most recent pay stubs, photo ID that's current. That list of items there is going to get you through the bulk of what we need for a pre-approval, and get us basically through maybe a first round of underwriting, and get us an idea of, you know, what's going to take to get you approved in a home. That
But it's a quick process. Right? We've done this before. We've done it with other folks. I mean, most folks can simply do this in an hour on their iPhone, correct? Yeah.
available saving to the application, and then I'm just going to go in. It's the documents that I've asked for. The whole thing, probably 15, 20 minutes. And if you've got, reasonable skills and access to some of them online, you can generally gather that I'm looking for.
So the reason why this is so important, right? So if we're bringing you out as a first-time home buyer to look at homes, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on the back end of the show, particularly since inventory is super tight right now and super tight at this very narrow price point where everybody seems to want to be at, having this pre-qual letter is extremely important because it shows the seller, hey, I'm qualified to buy this house. And more importantly, and this happens from time to time, you don't want somebody to fall in love with something that they can't afford, right? So it's very important. That's the reason I started this series off with you guys. It's the most important thing. We need to figure out what we can afford, what you want to afford, and then we can go figure out what's out there and see how we can go ahead and get it done. Jerry, you got anything?
I'm curious of a lot of stuff.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Jerry jump in for a second and catch up on some notes.
Scott, thank you for joining us here. Some stuff coming in. Don Gathers, hello. Debbie Brewer, hello. Christopher Eagle, hello. Logan Foster, hello. Real Estate 3, hello. Thank you guys for joining us. We were talking with Quentin Beckham about this. We were also talking with, who was it, Lee Robinson? Is that her last name?
Brown.
Lee Brown. Okay. Interest rates.
Bit of a rock star.
Talk to us about interest rates. What you want to see from interest rates, how long interest rates are going to stay here, do we see interest rates going up, the impact of an increase in rates if it does happen, the whole topic. And then I want some specifics that I'll ask you as well.
So right now, I don't think there's I said a couple weeks ago, I kind of thought we were near news coming on the job front that could drive things lower, and we haven't really seen anything push further down. On the same token, I don't think there's a lot of real news that's going to drive, and what I mean by that is in the terms of stock market, this economy isn't going to go immediately back to what it was, so we're clearly the interest rates that we had overnight. Do I think, yes, the only option is up from here, but I would say in the next 6 months, we should probably be in a pretty steady place, somewhat similar to where we are now.
So you think they're not going to move much?
The government of 10-year bond, which isn't going to drive the value of the bond up, which is part of what rates trade off of. There's not an appetite for increase. I don't see
Any
it.
concerns with the jumbo market? We have some clients. We have some clients that dabble in that. I mean, rely on the jumbo market. What are your thoughts?
It's starting to open
You think
back
so?
up.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, that's where those borrowers have been the least affected as far as
because they're sitting on piles of cash.
Yeah, but that number's substantially
Right, here.
that number's substantially dropped, though, right? What is jumbo at as of today? So for those who don't understand,
Yeah, put it in layman terms.
yeah. So jumbo is a dollar amount. Once your purchase price goes over a certain dollar amount, you jump up into a completely different
stratosphere.
Yeah. As far as a credit score, amount of money down, the terms and conditions to get the loan, interest rate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what that means is, and not too long ago, that number was in the 7s, right? And it's
That's
a little
correct.
over 5, I think, now, right?
Well, it depends on
Got it.
your area. Your county loan limit dictates what your
So in Charlottesville area, do you know off the top of your head what that number
line
is?
Tough question right there.
I don't want to put
Yeah.
you on the spot, but it's not 7, right? It's not 700,000. Yeah, that's the number. Got it. Well, that's a number.
quite
Okay. So while you're looking, that's a number that I've heard, and that's a number that I've been kicking around.
So basically, what it is if somebody wants to purchase a home in our area and it's above a certain threshold, he's about to give us the number. It's a completely different loan situation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and why I'm asking about the jumbo market is because we know there's a lot of money in this area.
Sure.
People are sitting on capital, they have money in the bank account, and those are the type of properties that we hope move again. So Keith, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, and it's interesting because the median sales price for the last 2 weeks that have closed is around $350.
Okay.
Plus or minus. So, and I think it's important to talk about that because there's a lot of conversation going on about this jumbo market, but the majority of the loans are in this narrower 250, 350.
Yeah, lower price point.
Has that been your experience, Scott? I know you're searching for a number there.
To $400,000 has been highly competitive. Motions,
exactly right.
I've got borrowers it happens to every weekend.
We can get off of the jumbo thing. The bottom line is if you're buying something north of $500,000 or $600,000 in today's market, you're probably looking at a jumbo loan instead of one of these other products, which is what I really like to talk about, right? So we've agreed that the sweet spot is this 150, 400 range, right? In that range. So I'm a first-time home buyer. What product is best available to me right now? And a little bit of a clue, everybody thinks they have to put 20% down. That's not necessarily true. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Specific to that, let's talk about loan limits again. So that's still available is the Home Ready product, which is a 3% conventional loan down payment. But again, there's some income limits. So you can Google this. You can go to
so what is that a government product? That's an FHA, right?
Nope, that's not an FHA. Home
cool.
Ready is a convention that has some government guideline that keeps you inside of it. So you can Google the Home Ready income limit map, and that as long as you don't exceed that, so that gives you rate and some lessened mortgage insurance, and along with that, so you're putting 3% rather than 5% for a conventional loan.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You finish, please. I'm writing notes.
So, whereas FHA, which is %, so you've got 3%, half, and 5% are your bottom tiers, and then I do a lot of which is a zero down product.
So let's talk about. We just talked a little bit about anywhere between 3 and 0 down, right? And you're saying their preferred interest rates. Is this the bulk of the loans that you are seeing out there right now that you're doing?
I would say the bulk probably is up to the 5%. But it really just depends. There's a lot of borrowers that are, they may be selling their first house and buying the second, so they don't percent. And those first-time home buyers, yes, 3%. And I've got probably 3 USDA rural loans that are available, are active right now with borrowers.
So let's talk about first-time home buyer, because I learned something from you, I believe. First time doesn't mean actually your first time. It means there's a certain period of time. So if you have not owned a house, I believe it's 3 years. Is that correct? Right. So you could have came out of the ownership model, right? Which we're talking about obviously this month. But let's say run into a rental environment, right? Or you moved.
You took another job. You didn't want to buy right away.
Or something along those lines. If you have not bought in 3 years, you now requalify for this first-time home buyer program.
I bet a lot of people don't know that.
Well, that's kind of reason. And so as my
My generation has the millennial generation, because of our parents have the misconception that every piece of property we purchase must have a 20% down payment. And there's many financing vehicles that otherwise say, no, you don't need that. Now, there are obvious advantages
Sure.
to putting 20% down
Sure.
with cutting down your monthly payment. There's obvious advantages there. But a lot of my friends don't just think, oh, it's a $400,000 house. We can't do anything until we pull the trigger with 80K. And then you have closing, commissions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So from a buyer's perspective, I can't tell you how many conversations we have, particularly with your age group.
About that, right?
Exactly right. It
Yeah.
always starts with that
Because
conversation.
of our parents.
Well, or they just haven't. Yeah. Thank you.
And a lot of people just misconception that
Yeah. No, I mean,
It does cut down your monthly nut.
well,
to
it
do
cuts down your monthly nut,
able
but
to
it does something more than that.
gets rid of
That's
your
exact-
mortgage.
Yeah.
That's the real
PMI.
the
Yeah,
PMI.
absolutely.
So, and we're bouncing around a
That's
little bit. I'm not way off of my notes here, but let's talk about that, because some folks that may watch and may not know what PMI is, private mortgage and insurance. So why don't you explain that a little bit, and then explain how do we get rid of it?
So on an FHA loan, insurance that's mandated by the government, it's essentially how they are insuring these loans, and it gives them the ability to get you a preferred interest rate on this government-backed product, but that mortgage insurance is there for the beginning. A conventional loan, where it's not backed by a GSE or a government-sponsored entity, it's just the bank. Defaults for them. They charge a private mortgage insurance. This private comes in different tiers depending on your score, how much money you're getting. But when you get to 80%, that mortgage in its entirety, versus an FHA loan, where again, if you're not putting 10% down, that's with you for the life of the loan.
So some of the conversations I typically have with first-time home buyers, and you've sat through some of these, I usually do my standard speeches at the closing table, or in this case, a virtual closing table on that. And I encourage the first-time home buyer, and encourage anybody to do it. Yona and I do this, is we basically pay 2 full payments a year, monthly payments a year, and we apply them to principal. And that's a very quick way that you can drive down that PMI, because it starts once that principal amount, loan amount, gets from 10, from 90% or
You're
90.
paying so much interest on the front end.
Oh yeah, I mean that's Scott is okay with this, but people that actually lend out the money, they want you to kind of string this out. But if you go ahead, you can basically turn a 30-year mortgage
To what, a 17, 18?
roughly. Yeah, exactly right. 18
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Turn it to
By
18.
just doing an extra payment a year.
Two
extra payments a year. Yeah.
You have to make sure they go to principal, though, because if you don't say that, they'll pay the interest first.
Right.
They'll pay
the interest
themselves.
first. That's right.
That's right. The man will get you.
The man will get you.
The man will get you
But
every
that's
time.
easy to do on the drop down.
That you just
Online.
do it. That's all you got to do it
On
online.
the menu bar.
There you go. Though we're huge supporters of Marie Vett, but maybe just one less couple.
The latte factor,
There you go. Great. One of the greatest books ever written.
right?
One of the
Yeah,
greatest.
it really is.
It is. So I'm trying to catch up on my notes. So we talked about everything but what we are, vets. So talk a little bit about VA loan options.
So VA loan options, if you are going in and you're putting 5% down, so one of the things VA gets you in, you're zero down. But again, it's a GSE, it's a government-backed loan, so the government's going to get their piece somehow. So they do it in this way in a funding fee. FHA carries a funding fee and mortgage insurance. USDA carries a funding fee and a much lower mortgage insurance. VA only carries the funding fee. There's no mortgage insurance. Now, you get if you are a disabled veteran and you're over 50%, it's 30 or 50. I would need to double check that, but depending on the level of disability, your funding fee is waived, and that's verified in what's called your certificate of eligibility, which I can go in once I've taken an application, log into the VA website, and actually pull your COE for you as an individual. It's not something that you have to reach out and do or try to juggle. Now, if it's not available electronically through the website, then that's a situation where I may ask you to reach out and try to find some documentation in order to get the VA to release that for you. Now, that funding fee can be lowered depending on, should you choose to put down money, they're going to take less of what they're charging you into the loan, and that's the government, the VA, in relation to the funding fee.
So we kind of talked a little bit about pre-approval, how important that is, and how important it is to get in front of a loan officer. And I'll say this in front of everybody: use an actual person. Don't go to any of these online things. You want to be
make sure they're local.
Make sure they're local. You want to actually use a person, just like we talk about trusted advisors.
There's a lot of reasons for that, and let's just talk about that for just a quick moment. So last year, 65% of online-only transactions didn't close on time because there's no human involved. If you run into a problem, there's no one to step in and say, okay, all right, you're an hour and a half away. I'll send someone. I'll drive to you. I'll come get this wet sign document that we have to have, and I will fix your problem and make sure that you close on time. If you're dealing with an online source, they're just going to wait until you upload it. If you don't do it, I'm sorry about your luck, man. That's not their problem.
So we talk about this show all the time, trusted advisors, right? And clearly you're a trusted advisor, Scott. But that's exactly right. We just had a transaction. Actually, it's pretty interesting. We had a buyer who just absolutely insisted on doing an online thing, and lost the deal. Multiple offer, lost the deal, frankly, because the seller was not comfortable that it actually is going to close. And
I'd be concerned about that.
Yeah, and you'll get a phone call later on today, Scott, because I told them to call you. But anyway.
I'm glad you told them now.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Scott said fantastic.
Fantastic. Keep them coming. So, I'm going to ask Judah to put up slide number 3, and this is a quote from Lawrence Yun, our chief economist, and it's basically talking about we're kind of getting on the other side of this COVID-19 from a real estate perspective.
Definitely.
Right? Inventory is just, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, but inventory is dropping. Pending sales are starting to creep back up. The median sales price is starting to creep up a little bit, but I think that's going to stabilize. We've been tracking that, Jerry and I, for the last, 4 to 6 weeks on that end of it. So, I usually like having conversations with guys like you or Bill Tucker or Charlottesville Settlement. What kind of applications are you seeing? Is your applications upticking, staying stable? You're seeing them going down a little bit? And if so, why? Does that make sense?
In the last 2 weeks, I have seen it's been a busy time. There was a brief dip there where I think everybody really did. There was a sense of panic. There was a panic in the pandemic,
and rightly so.
Didn't want to, didn't want to list their homes. They didn't want to have people in them. I think we have gotten kind of past that. I'm seeing more activity. I'm seeing more applications, people are ready to go out, and life hasn't stopped. People are still going to have babies. There's still life-making decisions being made. People getting married, people getting divorced. These things are going to happen, and they're going to cause these transactions to occur. And none of this stopped during that time of fear.
So I've been focusing on a 25-mile radius. So pretty much since this started on March 24th, 25th, when the governor did stay-at-home orders. I've just been looking at this 25-mile radius around Charlottesville, and I took out new construction because I think that skews the numbers a little bit. But I just took just this morning before I came over. I just looked at the last 2 weeks going backwards. Yesterday, 2 weeks. There was 108 units came on the market. 172 went pending.
Wow.
I'm not we're Marines, right? So this is, how many is this? 3?
I know where you're going with this.
Right, this is 3. But I'm pretty sure those numbers are not looking too good for the buyer. So that's why this is so important.
And tell them why it's not looking good for the buyer. I don't think everyone understands why. We understand, but tell them why.
Well, because there's more people competing for less product.
Exactly.
It's simple supply and demand.
That's
so that's why this, and thank you for leading me along that way. Our chemistry is working today,
Right.
sir. That's why it's so important as the first step, and that's why I wanted to start today's series with you.
Is to contact a trusted advisor.
Contact-
Is the first step. Is that what you're going to say?
Have a cup of coffee first. That's the first step.
I like it.
But the second step, Mr. Miller, is to get pre-qualified.
There you go.
Don't do it online.
Yeah.
Grab a trusted advisor.
Save time for everybody.
Well, it's more importantly, we have to do that, and we're going to talk about this on Friday.
Do you require the pre-qual before you start working with a buyer?
Required is a very strong word.
Do you?
We encourage very strongly.
Encourage.
You'd like to see it.
We will sit down and have a very heart-to-heart, either virtual meeting or on the phone, and say, look, guys,
One of the things that you talked about when you first brought up the pre-qual was people not going out and seeing things that maybe they couldn't qualify for, creating expectations that they couldn't meet themselves. And I think that's one of the, outside of just being able to show that to the listing agent, this human has gone through the process and been vetted, and that they're taking a good offer to their seller, is that they're going out and seeing properties that are really a true match for what they can buy. So when they do see something they want to make an offer on, there's no hard feelings if it's not something that they can't purchase.
So my partner in crime over here, so everybody, if they take a look at him on what he's
I'm interacting with Judah, everybody, trying to. Many things.
He's feverishly messaging people. So I'm going to let him ask a couple questions off the feed, and then we'll wrap up on the back end.
How about this question? You're a guy with a good pulse on what's going on. What little pockets are you seeing popping?
Great question.
In Central Virginia, in our footprint, what little pockets of real estate are popping? You got a little pocket of real estate popping in Fluvanna, about to ready to get going, which we're going to talk about, I'm sure. What pockets are you seeing popping, Scott?
Barbersville, Green, Fluvanna, Scottsville. I'd love to see more product in Madison. I think there's a huge appetite for people who want to buy there. There's not a lot of inventory at the moment. But those would be the ones that just right off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I'm going to break some numbers down for Friday's show, but 2 things to talk about, and why the reason I wanted to start with the show so importantly, the cash buyer is slowly coming out of the market. You're not seeing that in this certain price point. They're not there.
You're saying the all-cash buyer says money's so cheap right now at 3 points. Why would I go put all my cash down to purchase something when I can invest it and get a better return on that money elsewhere?
So you know more why than I do. I haven't had an opportunity.
Well, you know that's the reason why. I mean, the money is cheap.
Money's cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, regardless of the why, it used to be a year ago, you were competing with cash buyers, investor buyers.
Right.
For whatever
Especially
reason.
here.
For whatever reason, that is dropping off, and I've been looking at those numbers a little bit. So again, it's so important to get this pre-qual letter because, if you're competing against cash, you might as well fold your tent and go
Right,
home.
you got no chance.
The game's over.
Right.
But if you're competing against other folks with pre-quals, and that's what happened with this particular buyer over the weekend, they made this decision. We coached them. They decided that that's what was best for them. We said, fine. We tried to put an offer in something and lost it. And now they're going to get a trusted advisor. They're going to I think they're going to find out I believe they're going to find out they can qualify for more
Right, than they thought.
than they thought.
It happens a lot. Jumbo market from the dynamic, beautiful, intelligent Jonas Smith. The
Uh-oh.
jumbo market, 510,400.
There you go, babe.
And she also has a message for the distinguished gentleman.
Uh-oh.
Watch your language.
Oh, Jesus.
Watch your language from Jonas Smith.
Yeah.
One more for Scott Morris right there.
I'm sorry, ladies. So sorry, Glenmore
Scott
ladies.
Morris, how about a final word, Scott Morris?
Final word. Thank you guys so much. I hope everybody out there in the world is being kind,
Sure.
being safe. Nothing's ever as bad as it seems, and stay off of social media as much as you can.
Except
When you're doing a show.
Except for when you're watching the show, I forget. I'm
except
sorry.
for Tuesdays
That's
and
what it is.
Fridays there, Marine.
That's right.
Or anything with I Love Steve-O.
Anything with I Love
Yes,
Steve-O.
Scott Morris. Good save, Scott Morris.
How about this? Remember to take a break.
There you go. Scott Morris, you're good people. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your service.
100%.
Scott Morris, good people. Love that guy. Good interview. A lot of feedback on the jumbo market on
Well,
the stream.
you know, the funny thing is
I'm worried about that a little bit.
well,
You know why?
I know exactly why.
Yeah.
But I'll let you tell me why.
Well, here's why. Multiple reasons. The way Charlottesville and Central Virginia's zoning is set up,
Sure.
so much of it is for single-family R1 housing,
Sure.
and we have such limited inventory that the price point on that single-family R1 housing is going up. So 510,000 in Charlottesville and Albemarle County? I mean, good night. I want to say that's a ton of money for my house, but for Charlottesville and Albemarle, that ain't a ton of money. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're apparently spending too much time.
Too much
together.
time, right?
Too much. No, we're spending too much time together because
Yeah.
we're thinking a lot alike. Yeah. So look, I don't want to. The reality of it is, in today's world, a $500,000 home is not a big number
Not in this area.
in this area. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was on the phone with our youngest daughter out in Seattle. 450. They're trying to buy a house. We're trying to help them navigate that. 450 square foot house.
Stop.
450 square foot house went on the market in this little section of Seattle for $499. By the time they got there, it ended up selling for almost $600,000. But
Multiple all cash.
multiple, no, not all cash, but multiple offers and all that stuff, and we just guys
Yeah, said peace out. Let's
can't-
find another one.
Can't help you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the reality of it is that if we start digging into the numbers, so you talked about Lake Monticello. So, you know, Lake Monticello, if you're in the, 150,
To what, 350?
yeah, something like that. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But the sweet spot's kind of in the middle there, the 150 to 250 mark. There's literally nothing on the market. There's a few units on the market. Our buddy Ray Cadell is about ready to bring one, which is I saw the other day, which is absolutely gorgeous. Actually, I think it's going to hit the market today, and it'll last minutes.
Right.
200,000, beautiful house. Give a shout out to Ray. Did a great job on it.
Give a shout out to one of our former guests. Sasha Tripp had a listing on my neck of the woods on 250 Eastern Albemarle County. Coming soon in the front yard. The coming soon never went away. It just went under contract
Yeah.
in a day.
Yeah, and so the rally back to why this is so important is home ownership, and actually it's important from a seller's perspective too, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier.
Consumer confidence?
No, about getting a good pre-qual letter attached to the offer that you receive, and then your real estate agent will guide you through this particular process. But it's tough out there. The inventory I just doing big numbers, right? If I was to really break that into the 108 that went active and 172 that went pending, that's in this very narrow
Silo.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but this is when you need a trusted advisor. You need folks like, my wife and I, to be honest with you, and what other real estate agents that are
Ray
watching.
Cadell's watching.
Ray Cadell, somebody has a realtor moniker on there. That's
Realtor?
Realtor. It's a Yankee accent, man. I can't help it.
I don't care.
I can't help it.
I like it.
Real
It's
estate
who you
agent.
are. How do you characterize the market now? 2 or 3 weeks ago, we called it a neutral market. Is that label still applicable?
Oh, that's a great question.
A lot of change since 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think Scott put the nail on the head there. I think folks are starting to move into a more comfort level. I think you're going to see, and it's just not me. It's when somebody like Dr. Yoon, who's a pretty sharp guy.
Yeah.
More than pretty sharp guy.
Yeah. He's the guy.
He is the guy,
Yeah.
and they are predicting houses coming on the market. I know Yona is busy. We'd love to have some more listings. Everybody would love to have some more listings to go ahead and try to meet this demand. And of course, it's got to be the right location, price, features, and conditions. But reach out to a trusted advisor. This market, I still think, depending on the where, right? So if we're in just talk about Lake Monticello.
Yona just said Lake Monticello is dynamic.
It's very dynamic. So, we'll again give a shout out to our buddy Ray Cadell, right? Everything's right. Right location.
Yeah.
It's in the right location within
Price point.
But it's in the right location within the subdivision. It's at the right price point. It is super cute, and it's got the right features. It will not last very long. So from that perspective, it's a seller's market. But if you're not in the right location, you're not in the right price point, and you don't have the right features, and you don't have the right conditions, you may not be in a seller's market.
If you're watching this show and you want some knowledge that's going to make you some money, Brian Theed, welcome to the broadcast. Emily Dunberger, welcome to the broadcast. Guys, hit the like button and share it now. Here's some advice from a professional. I learn from this man constantly, from his wife, from his colleagues. I said you first. I learned a tremendous amount from you over the last 18 months. From the guests, good light. I mean, they're rocket scientists. Here's what I'm saying. If there's any piece of advice to learn from here, now is the time to put your house on the... If you're thinking about selling your home, guys, there is such little inventory on the market.
I agree with that.
And I'm going to condition this because you taught me this. Depending on your location, your expectations, and the condition of your home. If those check marks are passable or suitable, now's the time to sell your home. There's no listings.
There's no.
You'll make money.
Yeah.
My old neighborhood, because I love it. You love it too. My old neighborhood, Redfields,
sure.
where we moved, Southside, the houses, we sold in ours on March 27th. I've followed the market just in that neighborhood since March 27th. I'm seeing houses come on the market. Trusted advisors are saying, guys, there's no listings. Yeah. We can inch that price point up a couple percentage points because of it and because the neighborhood's so good, and they're flying.
So one of the things I did not get to talk to Scott about, and if Scott's still watching, he can chime in, and we just kind of went sideways in the conversation. One of the things that is going on right now is the underwriters are getting a little bit more stricter.
Definitely.
Which to me is a great thing. It's hurting the market being a little bit tighter, but we tried. This is why this market is nothing like 2008.
He's saying the credit markets are getting tighter. People have less opportunity to get a loan. They're requiring a little higher credit score than normal.
That's exactly right.
And they're doing their due diligence a little stronger. Is that
stronger.
fair?
That is fair, and we talk about this all the time. Particularly if at a certain price point the cash investor is not there any longer, it really takes three entities to sell a piece of property, right? You got your seller, you got your buyer, and the lender, right? The lender, and it's important, when you start ramping these, and this is why you need a trusted advisor. If you start ramping up your price point a little too much, then you're not going to get it to appraise, and then you're going to be back at the table again trying to renegotiate. So, it's really important to get folks out there. That's why, in my opinion, these apps and these iBuyers and all that stuff, they're great. They're great to help people kind of navigate what's available, but you really need a trusted advisor. You need somebody to sit down and say, okay, I study this stuff every day. I understand that market. Guys, we can get this contract, but I don't think you're going to get it appraised. So what do we do then, Coach? So, listen to your trusted advisors. They're there to help you. Again, I love working with millennials. Yona and I do. Particularly, and it's funny, we're starting to see millennials starting to sell what they bought, which is pretty...
That was me.
That's exactly right.
That was me in March.
Which is pretty interesting. That trend is starting to go. So they're starting to go into this. It's not a lot. It's
It's the millennials maturing, and the average person spends 6 to 7 years in a home.
That's exactly
the millennial now is becoming close to 40, mid-30s to 40s.
Sure.
So if they bought mid-late 20s, they're now expiring or maturing through their first property. I would encourage a lot of the millennials to, if you're looking to climb the ladder, dudes, literally, my wife and I and kid just do this. Trusted advisor, you can climb the ladder now. Your product will move.
So and Ray or Yona, whoever's watching online will correct me if I'm wrong. I believe in NAR's 2019 stats, the average is 9 years now.
It's gone up.
It's gone up a little.
Interesting.
It's gone up a little bit.
What do you attribute that to?
I think a lot of it is to the inventory. I think we're just constantly having this inventory thing, and we've been talking about this for a while. I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine who's an academic, and I didn't quite understand why the real estate market is doing what it's doing, and particularly in new construction. Prior to 2008, we were running building like 2 million units a year. We have not averaged much over 1 million. And, guys like Donnie Wyatt from Co-Construct can verify these numbers. So for whatever reason, we're running a little bit short on our production. Not a little bit, substantial, short on our production stuff. So that's why things are escalating in inventory, and it's taken much longer to get, what I call green taping, right?
Well, one trend, and you taught me this as well, one trend we're seeing in Central Virginia with the new construction, we're actually seeing a lot of the new construction happening outside of the city and the county of Albemarle because perhaps the green taping isn't there. Where you get a municipality like a Fluvanna, and what certainly appears to be green, and undoubtedly on the other side of the mountain, you're seeing the mass-produced new construction builders, the Ryan Homes, just setting up shop. And they've got to have access to, they've got to be getting more green tape than red tape in those municipalities. I'm worried as someone who's passionate about Charlottesville, Albemarle. I love Central Virginia in totality. We're all connected.
Sure.
We're all connected. How Charlottesville goes, how Fluvanna goes. How Charlottesville goes, how Louisa goes. How Albemarle goes, we all go the same. But are you seeing the new construction and especially the big builders shifting attention away?
But they've been doing that for a while. For them, inventory is lots, right?
Yeah,
so
it's the dirt.
It's the dirt. So there's just nothing in Charlottesville.
There's no dirt.
There's urban ring around Charlottesville.
95% of the dirt in the county is protected.
Correct.
Albemarle.
But the issue is this is driving up the costs.
Yeah.
This is now in today's world getting us at or above the jumbo loan amount that we just talked about. But you're 100% right. We use this on the show, and I'm not a huge fan of this term, but
drive till you qualify.
But
Keith, we're doing this too much.
We're doing this too much. Yeah. So
it's so apt, though.
Yeah, what we should do. My ADD is kicking in. You know what we should do? We should figure out a way to do a live show while we're walking with the ladies.
You know what what I really wanted to do?
What's that?
Is we had a blooper reel created for the Prophet Ridge listing.
Uh-huh.
I was going to surprise you with
Oh,
the
you
blooper
son of a
reels.
gun.
Well, we're not doing it, okay? I literally was going to say we have a surprise for you. Here are the bloopers from the walkthrough at Prophet Ridge. But we're not going to do that. We could. Do you have the Prophet Ridge video, Judah, that you have access to? Okay, well, we'll talk about that. See if you can find that. But I'm worried about that, and I was talking about that with some of our common colleagues and clients. I'm worried about the jumbo, because they educate me, you educate me, the threshold of the jumbo.
Yeah, so, all somebody has to do is look on car or realtor.com and say,
See the prices.
And see the prices. This isn't
Rocket science.
It isn't rocket science, right? And oh, by the way,
Fake IKEA?
No. Yes. But pretty awesome thing. We got those two guys up to the space station.
Yeah.
Huh? Isn't that cool?
I'm going to throw this to you here. It shows you the craziness or the uncertainty of the climate we're in America. And on Saturday afternoon, we're watching men fly into space on a spaceship in a private-public partnership, and yet it got such little attention.
Well, I watched it.
I watched it too. I watched it with my son
Yeah.
and my wife in the backyard.
Cool.
And we have a photo of my son, my wife, and the German Shepherds watching a spaceship go into space.
So I remember the moonwalk, and I was talking to Yona about this, and I was a little young boy at the time, but that whole grainy black and white thing. Dude, that thing was like right out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Coolest thing ever.
I divulge a little bit on it, but I just, to me, it was a pretty neat experience. So, to go back to the jumbo question is all you got to do is take a look at it, right? And it's hard to find something. If you're looking for a single-family detached, 2-car garage, basement, a little bit of land around
Under 4.
Yeah. Under 5.
Yeah.
Under 6.
Yeah, depending on where you go.
That is correct.
Certainly not in Albemarle in the city.
No. So
Albemarle in the city, you're already at the 510.
that's exactly
For
right.
a four bedroom, say 3.5 bath on a half acre that's relatively newish in a good location.
Sure. And that's why people are driving out. That's why Scott said Green and Fulvana and Louisa. My hope is, as you know, I sit on the Project Rebound. I'm on the infrastructure team, and they're really looking at. I hope some progress gets going on. Is this green red tape thing, right? Green means go, red means stop. So I will tell you, I've sat in a couple of them, and the elected officials in this Albemarle County and Charlottesville agree that there's a problem. They need to figure out how to do it better and move projects along. So I think if they can move projects along and they can help with some of the density thing, I think we can get this number to where it needs to be. But it's just simple supply and demand. We're not producing enough to make it. But as you said earlier, if you're in the market to sell, now's the time to do it.
I'd love to, I agree with everything you said. I'd love to cut this into a sizzle reel, what I'm about to ask him, Judah.
Uh-oh.
So if you can put a mark on your pad here, because I think this is a good one. It'll start with this question. Yesterday, Keith Smith, we had one of your clients and Johnny Ordnalis on the show. And Johnny and his family are going to Zion's Crossroads and opening a Mexican restaurant and a new brand. You helped behind the scenes.
You're going to embarrass me, aren't you?
Get this deal going, navigate this deal. You have tremendous respect from that family. They had so many positive things to say with you about helping this family open their restaurant in Zion's Crossroads. Here's the question I have for you for Sizzle Reel. Zion's Crossroads, that entire corridor, what do you think?
Well, there's nothing to think. We've been talking about this for a year and a half, and this COVID-19, whatever was going on, has not changed my thinking at all. We've had this conversation. I think Zion's Crossroads, they got the water just about running through it. The land is there. The infrastructure's there, close to 64. The fact that, Steve and John are doing it, I just believe that that's the right move. It's the right location, and I can't wait to go up there and get myself a couple of margaritas.
I can't wait either. We'll be there. We're about a hop, skip, and a jump away, both of us, both our families.
They're just super awesome people, man. And we talk about this all the time. We just like helping people.
Yeah.
And we just happen to get paid.
That's the next pocket that you think that's going to pop real quick.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to see, one of our sponsors, right? That they're working on some projects out there. None of these projects have stopped. They're going through their pipeline. They're going through their process. So, I don't see it goes down. It's funny. We've been living here since 1987, and they said it in 1987, and I'm watching it. You're watching Richmond and Charlottesville just slowly
Connecting down the 64 corridor.
And Zion's Crossroads kind of right smack in that middle. You can be 45 minutes either way. If and when we can fly again, Yona and I like to fly out of Richmond. It's an easier flight. It's an hour drive down that way.
Let's give some love to Dairy Market. Let's give some love to Pearl Certification.
Yeah.
Savoy Wheeler Realty Company.
Yeah, so as you're watching the show, all these folks are chiming along on the bottom. They're all local folks. Just please support them. This is all about local. Share your love, and they're great folks.
You feel good about the market, huh? You're feeling better. You just want to see some listings. These guys need
I
some
wanna
listings.
win a
Sell
bet,
your
brother.
home. I will say this. We have to get the details. Basically, the bet was this. We have a bottle of bourbon, the fourth quarter of 2020. We're comparing it to the second quarter of 2019.
That's exactly
And
right.
the bet is this, that in the fourth quarter of 2020, we will do 85% of the sales volume that we did in second quarter 2019. And Keith is betting yes. 85 is a push. Anything above 85%, Smith wins a bottle of bourbon. 84% and below, I win a bottle of bourbon.
85 point.
85 is a push.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling less confident about my bet when I made it 3 weeks ago. And you, because you do this, you saw what was happening, and that you saw that the demand was there. It's just we were missing the housing. And if the listings start coming up because people start watching this show, I'm not going to win this bet.
Well,
Because the demand is there, and people are sitting on paper. They're sitting on money because the last 90 days they haven't done anything.
yeah. So you're already going to start singing this. I mean, and look, we were going to sit down and drink a bottle of bourbon no matter what.
Right. Either way, we win because
Either
we
way,
have a bottle of bourbon from Riggleman.
Either way, we're winning here. But we're going to start seeing listings coming back on the market. You're going to see it. They've been predicting it. I think you're going to start eking them up. They're not there now, but again, if you're thinking about selling,
Now's the time.
now's time to have a conversation.
You have a fabulous video, don't you?
I do. I have a video at the end of this thing talking about the summer and talking about the summer is the new spring. Market.
Summer is the new spring. He's really
spring.
trying to win this bet.
I'm trying to win this
He's
bet.
trying to win this bet.
Man,
right there.
I am spending hours
Trying to win this bet
getting content put together.
to influence the market.
So let's try it. Let's try a little salesman. Please call me so we can get some listings. So
Smith and Yoda need listings.
So I can win
them
the
listings.
so I can win the bet.
Is that what you were looking for?
That's what I was looking for.
Judah, do you have that video ready to go? All right, Judah. Guys, this is Real Talk. It airs Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15 on the I Love Seville Network, powered by the trusted advisors, Keith and Yona Smith of the Yes Team Realtors. We have a phenomenal video we're going to get to before we have a final word here from Keith.
I just want to say thank you to the ladies at Glenmore walking around.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's
Apologize for my language, ladies.
Can you imagine getting into a pack of people you've never met and they're listening and it's us?
It's
a little frightening.
It's not frightening. It's just, I guess we've been doing this so long, I forget these cameras are on,
Right.
and I'm just having a conversation
We're just
with
having
you.
a good time.
And the reality of it is somebody thinks that much of what I have to say to listen to them, and I am so honored. I'm stuttering because I'm so honored. So thank you, ladies.
I love it. I love it. Judah, good show today. Let's get that video going in 3, 2, and 1.